Taylor Midkiff joining us from the Land Grant Gauntlet. You can join him and the rest of the staff there at thelgg.com for the very best in Big 12 football coverage. Taylor, it seems to be pretty cut and dry. Oklahoma wins out despite being in the 5th position right now. Teams ahead of them playing each other, most notably Clemson and Miami in the ACC championship game. They should be in great shape, especially with that marquee win against Ohio State in the non-conference. If there's a loss there somewhere, then it gets dicey for the Big 12, whether that's TCU upsetting Oklahoma in the championship game or Oklahoma losing prior to the Big 12 championship game, most likely against West Virginia next week. So your thoughts about the Big 12 and trying to get back in the college football playoff?
Yeah, it seems at this point that the hopes for the Big 12 rest pretty squarely on the shoulders of Oklahoma. There's some scenarios where if you play out, oh, if this team loses, this team, maybe TCU, maybe Oklahoma State could backdoor their way in if there's total chaos. But reality is it's pretty much Oklahoma or bust for the Big 12 at this point. And so it's going to be interesting. I think OU is going to pretty easily handle Kansas. And next week after that, they got to play West Virginia. And that's a kind of tough game, but I think they'll handle that one as well. So it's really going to come down to the Big 12 championship rematch between either TCU or Oklahoma State, most likely. Both of those games were shootout-ish style that Oklahoma was able to win. I don't see a scenario right now where Oklahoma is going to be able to drop. I think that Baker Mayfield, for all of his antics, on and off the field, he's just the best player in college football right now. And when you have that, it gives you a really big margin of error, so that if maybe just on a random game, this unit's not showing up or the other team exposes a weakness here, you can always kind of fall back on the fact that you have Mayfield and that he's capable of doing so many things that are just unreplicable. And so I'm predicting that OU is going to win the Big 12 championship and make the playoff on the shoulders of Baker Mayfield.
The Iowa State loss at the time was pointed to as being a horrible loss. Obviously, the Cyclones have proven to be much better than anticipated. Plus, it's lost in the shuffle that Oklahoma was without 6 starters in that game along the offensive line. Defensively, that they were missing guys that proved key in that game. And they pretty much, yes, Baker Mayfield has not played a bad game this season, and he's been spectacular in the big games. What could prove decisive in the college football playoff situation if there's an issue with losing a game prior to the Big 12 championship game and Ohio State emerging in the Big 10 would be, of course, the head-to-head win that Oklahoma has there in Columbus. If the committee would bypass the one-loss teams that could emerge as second-place teams in the SEC and the ACC. But Oklahoma can certainly take care of business and should over the next 2 weeks to set up the TCU rematch, which is unique to the Big 12. And I got to credit this conference. Most of it was out of necessity when they lost the 2 teams and lost the Big 12 championship game for a run of years there when Nebraska and Colorado left, that it was the truest championship format as you look across the country. What if Ohio State and Wisconsin play during the regular season, or Alabama and Georgia play during the regular season? That doesn't happen in the other conferences. A lot of big games are missed, and that doesn't happen in the Big 12, and there's actually 2 teams that are going to play a rematch as well. So credit the Big 12 for no dodging of anyone in the schedule. All right, Taylor Midkiff from the Land Grant Gauntlet. Join him right there for the very best in Big 12 football coverage. You got to catch it here in the final 2 weeks as we head toward championship weekend. Taylor, we appreciate the discussion.
Thanks so much, Mark. Have a good one.